Once upon a time, there was a brave and noble princess named Peach.
I want to hear the story about the plumber.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. After 3 years since the video game icon released one of the biggest animated features in history, Mario, Luigi, and the gang at the Mushroom Kingdom are back on the big screen to go on their second adventure that will take them to galaxies far, far away. When Nintendo made the announcement during their Direct on September of 2025 that the next movie will mainly be based on Super Mario Galaxy, I was surprised that they skipped several games ahead to go straight to the Wii game. I figured Galaxy would have been an idea they'd save for something like the fourth movie or later. But you won't hear me complain about that because Super Mario Galaxy is not just my favorite Mario game, but it's also one of my favorite video games ever. It reinvented the classic 3D Mario formula to deliver innovative platforming that made it amazingly fun from beginning to end. Packaged with great graphics from the Wii, some of the most beautiful music put onto a video game, and the best of all,
Lord, show me how to say no to this. I don't know how to say no to this.
it honestly feels like Illumination is making a dream concept come true by producing a film adaptation of one of my favorite games. But if I may take a moment to recap my thoughts on the first movie, I do acknowledge that it's not a great feature. Much like Illumination's other films, it's a lot more of a crowd pleaser more than to be a cinematic achievement that prioritizes fan service over having a compelling plot and complex characters. Then again, it's safe to say that it knows how to please the crowd well, and it still came out solid and a lot of fun to watch with great action-packed animation, tons of enjoyable Easter eggs, and a fantastic score. Not to mention giving Bowser a moment in the spotlight with his viral song.
Peaches, 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 peaches. Oh, yeah.
So now that we're going to the Comet Observatory to see more of this Nintendo world, will the stars and planets align to make this a great feature? Or will this sequel leave me with Yoshi egg on my face? Let's find out. The story. As it is a movie called the Super Mario Galaxy movie, one would expect that this would primarily be based on the Wii game. And at first, it seemed like it was going in that direction, where it starts off nice with Rosalina taking care of the Lumas, and then providing a taste of the action as she fights against the Mega Leg. But after the title appeared, that galaxy aspect was mostly set aside so that it could be a straightforward sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Mostly following the same steps that its predecessor did, where Mario and the gang are on a rescue mission with a variety of games that it pays homage to alongside Galaxy, including Odyssey, World, Mario 2, or Doki Doki Panic for the well actually crowd, a bit of Sunshine, and surprisingly, Star Fox. Sure, this was definitely to be expected that more of Mario's legacy was to be highlighted here, but this is where I have a problem, not with the movie itself, but rather the title.
Now, where's the troubled pipes?
I wouldn't be as bothered by it if it were just called The Super Mario Bros. Movie 2 so that it reflects on how it's doing more of the same of what the first did. But when specifically naming it the Super Mario Galaxy movie, like I said before, you'd think that game in particular would be the main source of inspiration with the story and the world building. I'm not against having references to the other games in this, of course, but I'd argue that there is more of a presence of Odyssey than Galaxy in this, even if the characters sometimes go to space. I understand if some wouldn't feel bothered by this, but I feel like calling this the Super Mario Galaxy movie is a bit misleading when the most you get from that game are in the opening and some of the climax.
with a lot of galaxies.
And I'm sure some would argue that maybe Galaxy has a bit more relevance to the story itself with Rosalina's role in the picture. But there's just one problem with that. Like the plot in the first movie,
It's trash.
I know I'm gonna make some people upset for saying this, but if I could take a moment to do my job as a reviewer, the story, from a critical perspective, is bad. It's not just because of how its priority is only secondary compared to all the references and the action, but the narrative is always rushed in order to quickly jump from scene to scene. There's no room for any explanations to what's happening. There's no message to provide the picture with any substance. The comedy is at best hit and miss, where you'll maybe get a few that can give you a chuckle. The world building makes no sense when you try to put in any logic to it, or figure out how some games that are mentioned are connected to one another. And when they try to give some characters an additional side plot, they either have no point to the feature and go nowhere, or make things worse by suggesting ideas that the Mario world would honestly be better without.
Everyone calm down.
Now, before anyone picks up their fire flowers and prepare to burn this review to the ground, do keep in mind that I never said that this wasn't enjoyable to watch. Yes, this movie is much more reliant on its novelty than to be a quality feature. It's not about immersing yourself in an engaging plot that has a deep commentary. In a way, it's kind of aware that it doesn't really have the talent to tell a good story. Instead, it's about showcasing all the different characters featured from the world of Nintendo on the big screen, and watching them as they go through some action-packed platforming and battle with threatening foes. Along with another great score by Brian Tyler that features many musical tributes to the games and, unlike last time, don't even use pop songs to break the immersion. In that regard, as long as you don't think too much about what the movie is doing, it's a fun experience. Even for me, I found myself enjoying the feature the most when I just turn off my critic mode and discover all the different cameos as they appear, while also seeing Mario and the gang in action as they stop the Bowsers to save the universe. I'll say now that this is definitely for Mario fans, almost exclusively even, since the movie is all about its gimmick of bringing the games to the big screen. If that's what you're looking to experience, then you'll be happy with what you'll get here. But if that's not enough for you to enjoy the picture, then don't expect the story to provide you with something more, because it's about as effective as a banana when you're in last place in a kart race. Not to mention that it's best to come in with the mindset that this is a Mario movie too than a Super Mario Galaxy movie, because you won't be getting much of that either. And I hope you don't mind that I do a little update to my review formula here, but I'll tell you now that I'm giving the story a 4 out of 10. And I'm being generous for the way that it's fun when you don't think about the story. But still, even when it can be amusing, it doesn't change that the story is there, and it has a galaxy's worth of problems. The animation. Okay, I know I was being quite hard on the story, but even as a critic, you won't hear me do the same with the animation, because the best thing about the picture is undeniably the visuals. I'd even go as far and say that this is a prominent example to why the animation team at Illumination are underappreciated, because they are an incredibly talented team that are capable of crafting some extraordinary CG. Whatever you throw at them, they can make something that will look beautiful. And in the case of this movie, that was pretty much what they had to do by receiving as many characters, both major and minor, from the games, and bring them to life so that they could fit in their Mario cinematic universe.
Your king has returned! Long live the king!
And just like what they did with the first, what makes their designs work very well is how there is a clear update to their looks so that they can be more expressive to further display their personalities and let their movements be dynamic for them to be more playful while they're on screen, along with having additional textures to enrich the details of the overall look. At the same time, the differences don't deviate too far from their familiar appearance, where they are still recognizably the same characters that we've played in the games. Which in the sequel, that treatment was well given to the newcomers like Rosalina, Bowser Jr., and even Fox doesn't look out of place in this film.
From the ashes of his father's defeat rises a new conqueror. The Bowser name shall be feared once more!
As for the worlds that the gang explores across the feature, it's true that there isn't a lot of those Mario Galaxy gravity-defying moments where they run around on small planets or frequently fly around space in this Super Mario Galaxy movie, but I won't be taking points off of it because the environments we did get in this are still very well done and immersive. They were able to capture such a grand scale that is able to fit the large variety of inhabitants that are featured, and capable of making them lively with a lot happening to sell the purpose of those locations, rather it be Bowser Jr.'s Koopa-made planet, or Rosalina's Comet Observatory. Not to mention how the movie captures Mario's bright color palette to make it completely colorful across the film so that it helps to look all around at what is going on. It's part of what makes it rewatchable so that you can experience the scenes not just to find all the individual references, but also every intricate detail with their own set of colors to spot. But the real key to make both this and its predecessor fun and engaging to watch is all the action. This is where the animation team's strengths come together to translate the exhilaration of the games into movie scenes in order to experience those familiar moments in a new way. And as they include a great fast pace to maintain the intensity, the effects are also a strong highlight to show both the characters' abilities and the dangers that they face. And this time, there's more magic to it than in Comix Wand, where, of course, we get a lot of fire going on, but there's also Rosalina and the Luma's star powers, the different power-ups that the characters get, like the Cloud Flower and the Penguin Suit, and Bowser Jr.'s brush, whose paint can morph at will.
I'm Bowser Jr., and I'm gonna be taking my father now!
And I know that I mentioned that this is a flaw when it comes to the story, but I'll give it that the variety of events that happen throughout the feature does have the benefit of fully displaying its creativity. Sure, they narratively don't make sense, even with the context of the games and the feature itself, but when they're on screen, they add a lot of fun where you never know what the next big action sequence is gonna be. From fighting Bowser Jr. with his special brush, to flying around in an R-Wing and dodging Bowser's arsenal, to running away from a T-Rex, the execution kind of makes up for the lack of sense in the story if you're willing to forgive it for that. But if there are any standout scenes for me, there is the climax that delivers a great and crazy finale to the picture, and the casino scene where Peach and Toad fight off the Mario 2 enemies. Especially when the casino is all in a big cube that flips gravity around. It's weirdly enough the most that feels like Mario Galaxy in this Super Mario Galaxy movie.
You're going to regret that.
Say what you will about this film, there will be a lot of different feelings towards it, but one positive note that most can agree upon is that the animation is spectacular. What Illumination pulled off with the designs, backgrounds, action, and colors all stay true to what we love in the games and brought them to the next level that fits well in an exciting movie. With the way it was all executed beautifully, I give the animation a 10 out of 10. The movie may not be Mario and Luigi at their best, but they did look like their best. The characters. Since the story was sidelined to the point of being kind of neglected and left to be corroded in its own issues, it gives the characters little room to leave a strong impact to the feature, let alone have any depth to show more sides to their personalities. Even if they try to flesh themselves out and provide new materials for the sequel, They end up being a detriment for contributing little significance to the picture and still make the cast come out as one-dimensional. I'll also add that I find the voice acting to be pretty mixed. There are a few that do well, but there are also those that are not so great and underwhelming. On that note, and to get this out of the way, I still stand by my opinion that Chris Pratt was not a great choice as Mario. Like I mentioned in my review of the first film, his voice is too distinct to play a character that is as iconic as Mario, especially when he doesn't try to alter it and sound a little more different than he usually does, other than a small attempt of a New York accent. Top it off with how he's not the best actor in the film, and it results in a sense that his casting is almost on par with Dwayne Johnson as Maui in the live-action Moana remake. It's more distracting to the point that it kind of takes me out of the movie when he talks.
There's the problem.
But going back to the characters themselves, there's not a lot to say about them with how simple their roles are. Mario is the hero who kinda has a crush on Peach, but that relationship is barely present when they don't see each other as often as in the first film. Luigi is the psychic brother that I'll give him credit that he did get a slight upgrade from before and provide Charlie Day with more to work with so that he can deliver an entertaining performance.
Come on, you're not the scared guy anymore.
Yes, I am! People don't change!
On the flip side, however, one who received a noticeable downgrade was Bowser, who was reduced, both literally and figuratively, to a comic relief as he travels with Mario and Luigi while still small. He did have a bit of an arc where he bonded with the brothers, but once he gets back with his son, that ultimately went nowhere. Not to mention that Jack Black's charm is not as effective here as before. And no, he doesn't sing a new song. Then again, I did like the father-son moments where they spend some quality time. Those scenes were surprisingly heartfelt.
Bye, suckers!
Get back here!
No! You can't catch the wind!
And then you have Peach, whom alongside Toad acting as her bold sidekick, she was the first to go on the rescue mission while she tries to figure out where she came from and if she had a family prior to being transported to the Mushroom Kingdom. Without spoiling anything, my only comment to that outcome is no. Honestly, no. Even by the franchise's logic, that is really jumping the chain chomp. To maintain my love for the Mario games, I am not accepting that as Peach's backstory and something that she can now suddenly do.
Toad, pack our things.
Let's go!
Let's go!
As for the new arrivals, there's Yoshi, the helpful dinosaur who tags along on Mario and Luigi's journey.
So some dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group.
Well, since the movie has no time to further explain anything, pretty much, yeah. There's Bowser Jr., who is technically the main villain that wants to reunite with his dad to take over the universe together, and Fox McCloud surprisingly has a bigger role than I expected, where he's the movie's Donkey Kong as the special guest. A rogue pilot from a different universe who gives the gang a hand to get them closer to the Bowsers. As a character in general, he's not all that strong, but by the standards of this movie, he does come off as one of the better ones by providing a good amount of charisma with his ego. And then there's Rosalina, whom I was anticipating to see how she would be in the movie. Yes, there is that, but I will say that with her personality, this movie did her justice, showing both her soft side as the mother of the Lumas and her strong side to fight with her star powers. And with a great performance by Brie Larson, the movie captured the essence of her being the princess of the cosmos.
Plumber, 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 plumber.
Okay.
However, the big catch is that her role is disappointingly weak. What Luigi was in the first movie is now Rosalina's turn to become the damsel in distress whom the characters have to go and rescue, only having the opening to show off what she could do, and that's it. And this only adds to the frustration of the feature that a principal character in Super Mario Galaxy was reduced to a MacGuffin in the Super Mario Galaxy movie!
I'll burn the skin off your bones!
While some were able to shine, and you'll still have a lot of fun looking for all the cameos and small appearances from the minor Mario characters, the cast in general feel like a downgrade from the predecessor. Even when the script prevented them to grow, they don't even try to enrich the experience outside of their abilities, and when they do, they end up causing a bigger mess where it would have been better off if they just remained flat. I'm not gonna go too low with the rating because they can be enjoyable at times, but I'm giving the characters a 4 out of 10. They were able to do decently well in the first, but in Galaxy, they felt like they were better off staying in the games. On one hand, I understand why critics generally don't like this movie. I have to agree that this is not great. I'd even hesitate to call this good. On the other hand, I can see how fans would have a great time with this film, and as a fan of the Mario games myself, I'll admit that I did have fun. The Super Mario Galaxy movie is one of the best examples of an animated popcorn flick. It's not to experience a well-crafted feature, because it's honestly not that, but rather to see the novelty of the Nintendo games adapted to the big screen. When looking at it as a movie, it's poorly constructed with a rushed story that mostly rehashes the first, side plots that either go nowhere or fail badly, random world building, flat characters, and a title that doesn't accurately portray what you get from the experience. But when you don't think about the narrative and just go with the flow, it makes it much easier to digest and enjoy what it does well. Especially with a solid score and the beautiful animation that delivers vibrant colors, great designs, immersive backgrounds, and a large amount of engaging and creative action. How much you'll be enjoying this film will depend on your thoughts on the first Super Mario Bros. Movie, because there's a strong chance that you'll feel about the same about Galaxy. If you're a fan of the first, then you'll enjoy this as well. If you didn't like it, then this one won't be any better, and it's probably best to skip. And if you enjoyed this review, then give this a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can also support me on Patreon to level up your game and have a galaxy's worth of rewards in return. Sure, I didn't come in expecting that this would be best animated feature material, but even with all of its problems, I wouldn't say that this is the worst video game adaptation out there, and it did deliver well in terms of fan service. As long as it keeps the fans happy, then Mario was able to beat his second movie level.
Anyway, I need my 8 hours or else I really turn into a monster.